Hello, I'm here with another Benton related video, and in this video I'll be discussing Alien X-tinction, and more specifically misconceptions with the special. Some of them putting the special in a negative light, and then so I'll be debunking those negative misconceptions. If you didn't know, Alien X-tinction is one of the three specials from the Ben 10 reboot alongside Ben 10,010 and Ben Gen 10. Both specials will get their own videos at some point, but I think I'll have to rewatch Generator X first before making the Ben Gen 10 video, because I've heard complaints that Generator X doesn't work the same in the reboot as he does in the Generator X show, though people need to take into consideration that the Generator X from the reboot is a different universe with different laws. But again, I'll rewatch Generator X just so I don't make any mistakes. I feel like I definitely will if I don't watch Generator X first. I'm not really a big fan of the Gen X reboot special, but I'll try and defend it the best as I can anyways. But anyways, these specials take place in Season 5 of the reboot, after the Ben 10 vs. the Universe movie, Alien X-tinction being the finale of the reboot, releasing in 2021, which is the last reboot content that we got. So, Alien X-tinction gets a bad rap, mainly for nerfing Alien X, in quote. This is the main topic that I'll be talking about in this video. However, I will talk about another misconception. But firstly, I'm going to do a quick summary of what happens in Alien X-tinction, just in case you may have forgotten, or you don't feel like watching the special. Though I would just recommend watching the special rather than listening to me talk about what it is. So, the plot of Alien X-tinction is that there's an evil celestial sapien going around in the multiverse, stealing Omnitrices from Ben Tennyson's. Having the Omnitrix removed results in three different things. The first being that Ben is completely fine with the Omnitrix removed. The second is that Ben's arm will be damaged, which is what we see with the first Ben that has his Omnitrix removed at the start of the movie, an alternate Ben. And the third being that Ben dies. We're introduced to an alternate Max Tennyson who has been hunting down this evil celestial sapien and trying to save Ben's, but he's always one step behind. We found out that the evil celestial sapien killed this Max's Ben, so he's trying to prevent other versions of his family from having to suffer the same fate that he did. Eventually, the evil celestial sapien makes his way to the reboot timeline, the one that we've been following this whole time. I don't want to say it's the Prime reboot timeline, because we don't actually know that. We know that the Prime Ben, the classic universe, is, well, the Prime Ben. But we don't know if it's the same for reboot. It'd be easier to say it's reboot Prime, but we don't know for a fact if that is the case. But anyways, okay, so in this timeline, alternate Max is able to find reboot Ben before he loses the Omnitrix. However, this doesn't save reboot Ben from having his Omnitrix taken because of his arrogance. Rather than continuing to chase after the evil Alien X and forever be one step behind, Max decides to stay in the reboot Ben's timeline, and instead it brings in another alternate Ben who still has his Omnitrix into the timeline. This being Alien Force Ben, and they use him as bait to bring the evil celestial sapien back to collect his Omnitrix as well. However, this still isn't enough. Alien X being able to beat both Bens, Gwen and Max, both Maxes. So they call in for even more help. And this results in them creating a team of Reboot Ben, Original Series Ben, Original Series Gwen 10, Alien Force Ben, Ultimate Alien Ben, and Omniverse Ben. As well as both Maxes and Reboot Gwen, who's now equipped with this energy watch that creates energy discs and stuff. I don't really know what it is. I don't think it wasn't really explained. It's just something for Gwen to fight with, though I think it would be cool if the special brought back her cat suit that we saw in the Season 3 finale. Alright, so this team of 9 overwhelms Alien X with numbers, resulting in Alien X's defeat. Reboot Ben gets his Omnitrix back, as well as the other Bens who lost their Omnitrixes and survived. Then we get the big reveal, and that this evil celestial sapien is another alternate Ben. He's sort of like Eon. He's an evil Ben 10K. And this alternate Ben's timeline is where his version of Gwen and Max died, the evil Ben's motivation for stealing omnitrices is so that the other Tennyson families can feel the same pain as him, which is weird. I don't know why. That goal doesn't really make sense. So, this evil Ben 10K is also a parallel to alternate Max, as evil Ben 10K is wanting everyone to feel the same pain as him, whereas the Max doesn't want people to feel the same pain as him, which is interesting. I never really noticed that until I was writing the script for this video. I mean, I feel like it's kind of obvious now. Now that I know, it's kind of obvious that they're parallels to each other. But yeah, that's the summary for Alien X-tinction. Again, I would just recommend watching the special. It's a good special. It's just, I'll talk about it, but I think it's good. Alright, so leaving the main topic for last, the first topic I'll discuss is regarding the alternate Bens and whether they're Bens from the previous series or not. Because I've heard people say that the Bens that we saw are Bens from the reboot universe, which to me doesn't really make much sense. So I'll talk about that. So, of course, the alternate Bens and Gwens that we see are from original series, Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, and Omniverse. And people will bring up multiple things to say that they're not alternate version. They're not the same versions of Ben that we saw in the classic universe. So, the first point that's brought up is Ultimate Alien Ben wears his Ultimatrix upside down. Now, we do see an animation. I believe this to be an animation error. We see Ultimatrix Ben's Ultimatrix the right way around for a bit, but for the majority of the special, he has his Ultimatrix upside down. However, I don't think Ultimatrix Ben having his Ultimatrix upside down means he's not Prime Ben or wasn't Prime Ben at some point. Because Celestial Sapiens could just retcon it or just like change it so that Ultimatrix Ben always wore his Ultimatrix upside down. The Ultimatrix Ben that we saw in Ultimate Alien, where he's wearing his Ultimatrix the right side up, well, the right side up for us, could not have ever happened because Alien X or Celestial Sapiens could have retconned it. So in Ultimate Alien, Ben was actually wearing his Ultimatrix upside down. Well, for us, it would be upside down, but for him, it's the right way up, if that makes sense. Just like how Alien X, before Omniverse, didn't have a big chin. Doesn't mean he's not the same Alien X. Or Big Chill being bigger in Omniverse doesn't mean he's not the same Big Chill as Alien Force. We even see in Omniverse, we see an Alien Force flashback where Big Chill is like, he has the same design as Omniverse, just with a different Omnitrix placement. So it could just be something that the Celestial Sapiens changed. Again, though, this is just an assumption, like, it's not confirmed that the Alien X, the Celestial Sapiens, changed it so that the Ultimatrix is always worn upside down, but I'm just saying that just because Ultimatrix Ben wears the Ultimatrix upside down doesn't mean that he's not Prime Ben. Like, there could be reasons for it, you know. So, on to Alien Force Ben. There are two different things that are brought up when saying, oh, he's not Prime Ben, or he wasn't Prime Ben. The first being, we don't call him Alien X. Now, people will bring this up to say that Ben doesn't know what Alien X is, or he doesn't call his Alien X form Alien X. However, I think with the context that this statement is taken from, it's pretty obvious that Alien Force Ben is referring to the Alien X. He's referring to the Alien X that has been going around the multiverse stealing Omnitrixes. He's not talking about his own Alien X. So this doesn't mean anything. There's no point bringing this up. And the second thing that people bring up is that Ben calls himself a plumber. As for this, it's stated in Dark Star Rising in Alien Force Season 1 or Season 2, depending on whether you watched it in the US airing order or in production order. Ben's Omnitrix gives Ben a sort of plumber license. However, in Ultimate Alien, Ben still goes through the plumber training episode, but technically Alien Force Ben can technically call himself a plumber. So again, this doesn't really prove anything. Alright, now for the other reason why people say that the Bens we see in the special aren't the same Ben that we grew up with, is the original series Ben calls Reboot Gwen a lucky girl, and rather than just Gwen, which people make the assumption that Ben always calls Gwen lucky girl in his timeline, whereas this isn't the case. Just like, for example, if we saw an alternate Sonic in a Sonic comic who called his Dr. Eggman Egghead all the time, that doesn't mean that he's Dr. Eggman, it's called Egghead. It's just a nickname. Or like, there's that one meme where this kid calls this news reporter Weatherboy. Doesn't mean his name is Weatherboy. He just calls him that because he's on the news. Like, it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, that's pretty much all the reasons I can think of as to why people would argue that these Bens aren't Prime Ben. There's no argument for Gwen or for Omniverse. Actually, no, that's a lie. There is one for Omniverse Ben that people bring up, and that is that his Omnitrix turns red when he times out. However, this could just go down to an animation error. And even, not only that, but in Omniverse, we see multiple times that Omnitrices don't work like they're supposed to. Like, with Ben 23's Omnitrix, we see him go through his aliens like the prototype Omnitrix, which is what his Omnitrix is, a prototype. But we also see him skits going through his aliens like the official Omnitrix, which is an animation error. Just because Omniverse Ben in the reboot has his dial goes red when he times out doesn't mean that he's a different Ben. It could just come down to an animation error. It doesn't mean anything, again. But anyways, that's about it. On to the main topic, which was Alien X nerfed? Now, looking at it at face value, it looks like he is. But you have to take into consideration how the reboot Omnitrix works first. Stated by Duncan Relau, who worked on the reboot, it stated that Ben's human DNA is infused with the aliens that he turns into, meaning all the aliens in the reboot that Ben turns into are hybrids, including Alien X. As we know already, Celestial Sapien DNA is diluted when fused with any other DNA. Not only this, but Reboot Alien X isn't infused with Atomic X's DNA, like Atomic X is, but human DNA, thus making him even weaker than Atomic X while still making sense. We even see that Reboot Ben's aliens are weaker than the aliens that we see in the original series, such as Four Arms in the reboot not being able to defeat a polar bear, or struggling to fight one, whereas original series Ben we see can create massive shockwaves just by slapping his hands, which proves that original series Four Arms is way stronger. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. Now, the reboot Omnitrix is also how the prototype Omnitrix worked back before around Season 2 and before then. Duncan Relau also working on the original series. It was shown in the pop-ups that the prototype Omnitrix turns Ben into the hybrids of a species because his human DNA is infused as well. However, he can only stay the hybrid for 10 minutes. Otherwise, the alien DNA will permanently attach to Ben's human DNA. So that's why the 10 limit time limit's there, to act as a failsafe. However, this was retconned in Season 2 because Master Control was introduced. Master Control obviously allowing you to turn into any alien in the Omnitrix for an indefinite amount of time, meaning that retcons the 10-minute time limit, meaning no matter how long you stay as an alien, your DNA won't attach. Meaning that, yeah. So the Master Control retcons the 10-minute time limit, and also the hybrid DNA, the hybrid aliens. Does that make sense? Don't know if I explained that well. And so, no, Alien X wasn't nerfed. He was as powerful as he should have been. If Alien X in the reboot was a full Celestial Sapien, he would be just as strong as the other Celestial Sapiens that we saw throughout the series. However, this isn't the case. The reboot is following the laws of the previous series here, so I don't know what you want. I don't know. It's not like the reboot's doing their own thing here. Like going like, oh, Celestial Sapiens are weak. Celestial Sapiens in the reboot are just as strong as they are in the original. It's just that Alien X is a hybrid, therefore he's weaker. It's still like the same laws. We see a couple things that Alien X can do in the reboot. He's able to levitate, fly, teleport, create portals, change the shape of his limbs, and use telekinesis. Telekinesis being reboot Alien X's most important ability. This is because the telekinesis is what he bro, I can't speak. What the fuck? I just have a stroke whenever I try to pronounce specific words, like primarily. He primarily uses telekinesis to fight, and this is what prevents him from harm. Whenever we see Alien X not take damage from an attack, he uses his telekinesis to prevent the attack from hitting him. Whenever we see Alien X get hurt in the special, it's when he's not using his telekinesis. Any attack that Alien X doesn't use his telekinesis on, he takes damage from. But, yeah, so whether Alien X can be caught off guard, or every time we see Alien X get hurt in the special, he's caught off guard, like he gets hit in the back, or he gets hit by an attack that he wasn't expecting. Or with like how people say Forearms was able to beat Alien X. Alien X just didn't decide to use his telekinesis when fighting it Forearms for some reason. If he did use his telekinesis, he wouldn't have been hurt by Forearms. So, yeah. All of the Bens came up with a plan to take out evil Alien X by overwhelming him. This has been an established weakness against Celestial Sapiens in the past, like with the Galactic Gladiator, making Alien X making the Galactic Gladiator make too many decisions. So that ended up in him losing. This is the same weakness that's used against Alien X in Alien X-tinction as well. Alien X being one person, and he's fighting against 9 characters. 2 Maxes, 2 Gwens, and 5 Bens. Obviously, Alien X's durability isn't going to be anything nearly as good as Prime Alien X's, or even Atomic X's, because he's a hybrid with human DNA. But people act like Atomic X didn't take damage at any point either. With the fight against Maltrun, we see Atomic X hit multiple times with Time Rays, and even reverts back into Ben 10K after being hit by a Time Ray. I've heard there's some other theories that people say is why Alien X is weaker. I hear these theories more often than Reboot Omnitrix works differently. The Reboot Omnitrix working differently is what's actually confirmed, whereas these headcanons are more often brought up, which is always weird to me, but alright. The main reason why I hear people say that Alien X is weaker is because he destroyed his Omnitrix to turn into said form. However, this is just a headcanon. There's nothing that implies that the reason Alien X, evil Ben 10K is in Alien X form, is because he broke the Omnitrix, or that he's weaker is because he broke the Omnitrix. Even in Alien X form, we see that his Omnitrix is completely fine in Alien X form. When Alien X reverts back to Ben, he still has one Omnitrix, that being his main Omnitrix, the one that's his, the one that he didn't steal. And when he reverts back to Ben, he still has that Omnitrix. And the Omnitrix that we see is completely fine. No cracks, it's not broken, it's fine. This is also a theory, but it makes more sense that the Omnitrices that Alien X wore were keeping Ben from not timing out, since when Alien X goes back down to one Omnitrix, he says, "I only need this to beat you," which sounds like he's saying that the Omnitrixes make him stronger, but Alien X then times out, even though he wasn't like actually defeated. He just ran out. It seemed like he ran out of time because he says, "Well, I only need this one to beat you," and then he gets knocked back by forearms, and then trapped by blocks his Legos. Alien X could just break through, or he could teleport out, but he just times back out. So, again, this is a theory. There's nothing that definitely says that the Omnitrices that Alien X are wearing are keeping him in his Alien X form or giving him more time in said form. But I feel like that makes more sense than the Omnitrices giving him more power. I'm not really sure how the Omnitrices giving him more power makes sense. I don't know. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say for the misconceptions. It's unfortunate that this special is so cool. Like, the concept of it is really cool and creative. It does a lot of cool things. It's lacking in areas because of the lack of budget, the time that it was made. There's no Kevin, which is a missed opportunity for sure. But, I mean, even despite the lack of variety of the aliens that the Bens turn into, like Ultimatrix Ben just turns into Amphibian like 3 or 4 times. When he has the Ultimatrix, he can turn into an Ultimate. It's really a missed opportunity, but despite that, the concept of it was still really cool. It was executed well, but people just can't let go of the fact that Alien X is weaker, even though it makes perfect sense for him to be that way. Granted, people don't know why he's weaker, which is why I made this video, in hopes that if there's a good reason why Alien X is weaker, the hate might decrease. But that's all I can think of for now, so I'll end this video here. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that the hate for Alien X-tinction lessens, since most of the hate for Alien X-tinction is based on the incorrect statements from the community. I will be making videos on the other 2 specials, as they both get unfair hate as well. I feel like especially Ben 10,010 without bias. But thanks for watching, and bye.